Have you ever felt a deep nudge in your heart? That sensing that God has planted a dream inside of you, but you're just not sure where to begin? It's almost like standing at the edge of a huge ocean, knowing that there's a beautiful island out there for you, but you just have no clue how to set sail to go discover it. Well, if that's you, you are in the right place today. Because, girl, same. I have been there. But before we dive in, I have a gift for you that goes hand in hand with what we talk about on this podcast. It's called the Clarity Roadmap, and it's only a couple of pages long so that it's easy for you to digest. It is going to help you to reflect, to pray, and to take action as you listen along. So grab it at the link in the show notes. All right, so this episode of the Confident Christian Woman podcast is for you if you are struggling with a feeling of uncertainty and confusion, because we are tackling the question, how do I start pursuing what God has placed on my heart when I don't even know where to start? We're going to explore what's going on with you. We're going to look at scripture for wisdom about how to deal with it. And we're also going to talk about some practical steps to help you start off on that journey towards what God has placed on your heart. So let me set the scene for you. It may sound familiar. You already know what it is that God has placed on your heart, and you are not at all confused about the dream. You're not waiting to feel called. You have been called and you know it. The nudge, the dream, the vision, it's already in you, and it keeps tugging at you when you're trying to move on from it. I have been there. It follows you into the car, into the shower, into the moments when you are quiet enough to notice it again. This is how the dream that God planted in my heart from I was a young child. This is how I kind of wrestled with it. I had the dream. I didn't know where to start. I shelved it. I buried it and ignored it for a very, very long time. I mean, decades. But it would still kind of haunt me from the edges of my life. Because when it comes time to start, to take a real step, you freeze. Maybe you open your laptop, maybe you scribble some notes, maybe you kind of think to yourself, I just need a plan. And then you talk yourself out of it before you can take a single step forward. And it is not because you don't care or because you're lazy or you're unclear, you're ungrateful. It's really because the idea of starting without knowing what the full path looks like is kind of terrifying, right? So what happens then is that other thoughts kind of slowly start to creep in, and these can sound like, well, if I don't know where to start, maybe I'm not really ready, or maybe this is not really for me. Or it can sound like, other people are already doing this. Who do I think I am, right? That imposter syndrome. Or it might even sound like, well, you just need to do a little bit more research first. Maybe get a better plan, or maybe get some, get confirmation again, right? It can sound like any of this. And really what it is fear, which does not show up loud or obvious. Fear can sound responsible. It can sound spiritual. It can sound like, I just need more clarity, or I'm just praying about the timing, or I just want to be a good steward. But it's fear. Because if you dig a little bit deeper, what truth will you find hiding under these stuck thoughts that you're having? Will you find fear of failure? Will you find fear of embarrassment? Will you find fear of starting small and never growing beyond that, growing into something huge and impressive and, like big compared to what you see other people doing? Will you find fear that God won't meet you if you move before He lays out the whole map for you? Because the thing is that when you say, I don't know where to start, what you might really be saying, the truth of what you might really be saying or what is really going on underneath for you is, I'm afraid to take the first step because it doesn't look impressive enough. What will people think? This first step looks so rinky-dink and small or dumb, right? Or what might really be going on is you have thoughts running in your mind that are saying, I'm afraid to take the wrong step and waste my time. Or I'm afraid to move without a guarantee of the outcome. And still beneath all of that is a deeper, quieter question, which is, can I really trust that God will meet me once I start walking? Can I really trust that God will meet me at the other side of that next step? Because the truth is that starting small can feel like weakness if you are a high achieving person. Like I identify as someone who's a high achiever, right? And starting small can feel weak or insignificant. Or starting messy can feel like a risk because you just don't do messy. or when you're carrying a calling that feels weighty or very specific or even holy, it can feel like you should know what to do with that calling and you should know that next step to take. It can feel like if this was really from God, it shouldn't be so unclear. But God has never been interested in clarity for the sake of your comfort. God is interested in your obedience. And sometimes that means starting before you feel ready. Sometimes it means picking one faithful action, even if it is minuscule, and doing it scared, doing it unsure, doing it unfinished, and doing it messy. So if you have been waiting for one step to reveal itself like a burning bush, maybe this is it. Maybe this is your burning bush. Maybe God is not withholding clarity from you. Maybe what He's doing is inviting you to trust Him. Maybe your first step is not about strategy or a better plan. Maybe it's about surrender. And once you move, I can promise you this because I have done this countless times now. Once you move, even just a little bit, the fear starts to lose its grip on you. The fog will start to clear, and all of a sudden you will realize that you really actually don't need the whole path. You just need to stop standing still where you are. So let's look at the story of Abraham, because it can help us with this problem of where to start in going after what it is that God has placed on your heart to do. Specifically in Hebrews 11 verse 8, it says, by faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. Let that sink in for a second. He obeyed and went even though he did not know where he was going. He didn't have a roadmap. He didn't have a strategic plan. He didn't have anything but an instruction to go. And that's exactly what stepping into the life that God has into the dream that God has given you feels like a lot of the time. We are not given a full map with street names and mile markers. Sometimes all we get is the nudge to move and the assurance that God will guide us as we go. It's It's a reminder that clarity often comes through motion, not before it. Abraham didn't have all of it figured out, but he trusted the one who did. And that's what God is asking from all of us too. He is not asking for perfection, and he's not planning to give us a 10-step plan for most of us. All he wants is a willing heart and one faithful step forward. So maybe the question does not need to be, how do I start when I don't know where to start? Maybe a better question is, what if God has already given me just enough light for the next small step? What if it's not about having the full plan, but instead it's about trusting the one who is the plan? What if clarity is not a prerequisite for your obedience? What if clarity is something that unfolds because of your obedience? And what if you are not stuck? What if you are simply being invited by God to walk by faith instead of by sight? So let's make this practical with some steps to get you moving. The first thing I want you to do is to spend some quiet time in prayer and journaling. I want you to write down the dream that God has placed in your heart, like write it in detail. And I always, whenever I tell people to write the dream in detail, I tell you to engage your 5 senses. What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? And what does it feel like? When you engage your 5 senses in fleshing out the dream, it will give you a level of clarity that you didn't have before. And then the second thing for you to do is to list out all the small actions that you can take this week to move towards it. That's like do a brain dump. Don't judge anything as too small or too insignificant. Just brain dump all of it. Don't judge any of it. It could be researching. It could be reaching out to someone in that area or industry, or the whatever it is that your dream is. It could be dedicating some time to develop a skill that you need in order to create this dream or to build this dream, right? Whatever it is, remember that progress is progress no matter how small. So brain dump that list of things and then get started. And then I also want you to take a moment to reflect. What are the real fears or doubts that are holding you back from taking the first step towards what it is that God has planted in your heart? And how can you surrender those to God today? So as we wrap up, let me just say to you that embarking on the journey toward what it is that God has placed in your heart can be exciting and daunting at the same time. But you do not have to have all of it figured out, and you absolutely will not get there in a single leap. A lot of us have been telling ourselves a lie, or we have been told and we have swallowed a lie that we are supposed to get from where we are to the end result of the dream that God has placed in our heart in one single leap, one bound. It doesn't happen that way. It happens in a series of small, faithful steps. And if you trust in God's guidance and take that first step of faith, you can just watch in amazement as He directs your path. So, if today's episode has stirred something in you, whether it is hope or clarity or even a nudge from God, don't forget to download the Clarity Roadmap. It's a free guide that goes hand in hand with this podcast to help you get unstuck and to start moving forward with God. And you can print it, you can pray through it, or you can use it as a journaling companion. As you do, though, remember that you do not have to have all the answers. You only need your one next step. And this free roadmap is a great place to start. To get it, all you need to do is go to the link in the show notes.